How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to walk you through a deployment and base setup for the ASAv that you can download from Cisco's website. I work for a Cisco partner, so I have access to all of these, all the software that I need to deploy. So this isn't a how do you download the software. This is how you once you've got it downloaded and then you go to install it. So we're going to go through and get some basic setup here. There's really not a whole lot to it in the grand scheme of things, so I'm going to quickly walk you through how this works. You accept the EULA both times, and then I name this ASAv3. I've actually already got two running. This is just going to be for me to show you how to install it. Click Next. The configuration here, you have four different options. You have the ASAv5, which is 100 megabits throughput. You've got 1 gig, ASAv version 10. Version 30 is 2 gigabits per second, and then ASAv 50 is 10 gigabits per second. We're going to do a ASAv 5. Click Next. We're going to choose the storage where this guy is going to go, and I'm going to say SAN 1, and we're going to thin provision it. And then we're going to choose the management 0 interface is going to be in my local network, so BM network. So there's a lot of interfaces on this device, so that'll give us a lot of flexibility. Click Next, and we're going to go ahead and finish. The deployment is actually pretty straightforward. It does take a couple of minutes to do, but once it's done and it's rolling, then it's a matter of booting it up. It's not as time consuming as like the CSR1000V that has to literally be installed. So ASAv3 is here now. I'm going to just go ahead and power this guy on. I usually go in here and give it 2 gigs of RAM, and everything else is pretty straightforward. You can add a serial console to it, but I have had mixed results with it, so I usually don't bother with it. I'm going to go ahead and power this guy on, and then as soon as I do, I'm going to go ahead and open the console. So we're going to bring this over here, and I'm going to go down here to with no configuration, and it's going to go ahead and load the data. And this is basically, I've already got 2 of these ASAs running, and the purpose here is just to test out the configuration. Now, when you look at ASA and you get to the CLI, because this will eventually drop us to the CLI, and then we'll be able to basically bootstrap it to support ASDM, SSH, things like that. And basically what's going to end up happening is when we log into it, it's going to be a fully functioning ASA. ASDM software is already preloaded to it, but it doesn't show up in the actual disk output. So if you do a directory or show disk 0, it doesn't show up, but it is there. So we'll take care of that, and then I will show you guys how to log into ASA via both the SSH and via the ASDM. It's actually very, very easy to do, and go from there. Beyond that, there's really not a whole lot more to it. It's a lot of this is just letting it boot. I've got a lot of other things running in the background. Identity Services Engine, Firepower Management Controller, Firepower, the actual sensor itself. I have Prime. There's a bunch of other stuff. Literally everything that's on the CCIE Security version 5 blueprint, I've downloaded all of that software, and I've just been slowly going through. I'm actually at the process right now of covering CCNA security. So I went out and I bought the official certification guide from Amazon the other day. I downloaded that. I've got it in a Kindle format. So I've been going through and hitting the areas of ASA that I'm not as familiar with that I need to know, like VPN, both site-to-site, remote access, and then I've also got some other stuff like zone-based firewall and stuff like that. But so I'm gonna pause the video and wait for this guy to get finished, and we'll go from there. Actually, it's done. So that's how quickly it boots up. So if I come in here, I'm at the CLI, the base. So this is basically what would be user mode, for lack of a better term. I'm gonna type in enable. Now you get this password. There is no password. Just hit the enter key. So you immediately get logged into it. So there's a few things that you have to do. the first thing we have to do is we have to log into global config, and we're going to be here. So if I type in show, and there is no do command like there is in iOS or in ESXi, where if you're in global config and you want to run an exec level command, you have to type do. There is no such thing here. Also, the ASA does not do everything via IP. So if you type in IP route, that would be incorrect syntax. So if I typed in IP route and I did a tab, it's going to be an unrecognized command. So it's route, and then you would specify, you know, the actual interfaces you want to send traffic out of. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in here host name is going to be ASA3. That changes the ASA host name. And then I'm going to go to interface management 0/0. I'm going to type in the IP address is going to be DHCP. And I'm going to type in the name if is going to be management. This is required. Name if is required because name if is how you will globally identify where you want traffic to go in or out of, whether it's the outside interface, the inside interface, whether it is the management interface. So there we go. So by default it gets a security level of 0, which is fine with me. I don't really care. The next thing we need to do is do a show interface IP brief to see what IP address we got. And currently right now, oh, it's no shut the interface, bring it up. So as soon as it has a chance to go out there and get an IP address, and it got .41. So .41 is my IP. So now I should be able to come over here and ping 10.255.1.41, and I can ping the ASA from the management interface. So that means my computer to this ASA, I do have at least layer 3 functionality to it. Now the next thing to do is we're going to exit out of here, and I need to go in here and give myself the ability to log into the device. So the first thing we're going to do is type in username is going to be Rob, the password is going to be Cisco, and the privilege level is going to be 15. So similar syntactically to iOS and XR, well I should say iOS. XR is a little bit different because you have like a role-based access control, it's automatically built in. But this one here, in iOS you would type in username Rob, privilege level 15, password Cisco. So they basically, the password Cisco and the privilege level are swapped. So that creates a local database. Now, the next thing I have to do is I have to tell ASA how am I going to authenticate users. So I'm going to type in the AAA authentication, and you have a bunch of different options. We're going to type in enable, and we have to type in console. Now, console is actually kind of a bad way of putting it, because console doesn't mean the RJ45 to DB9 connector that you plug into the router on the console interface. This is how you're going to view the device. Okay, so I'm going to type in local. So what that basically did is AAA authentication enable, privilege level 15. So I need to come in here and type in, if I want to connect to this guy via SSH, I also want to use the console of local. So I want to use a local user database. Same thing with HTTP. Okay, so that does that. Now, because I've done that and everything looks good, I know I'm okay. Now, this will not actually work for either SSH or for HTTP because I have not enabled them yet. So what I have to type in now is I have to go in here for the SSH and question mark, and I have to specify who is allowed and how the user is allowed to connect to the device. So I'm going to type in the 10.255.1.0/24. So that's the subnet that's allowed to communicate to the ASA and what interface that traffic should come in on, which is going to be management, which is the management interface. The same thing for HTTP. I have to enable the server, or HTTP server enable, and then I also have to come back here and do the same thing. 10.255.1.0/24 on management. So by typing those commands in, I have effectively gone through and given myself access to the device. So this is what I refer to as a bootstrapping of an ASA. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pull up an SSH console. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in 41. It's going to be an SSH connection to port 22. I'm going to go ahead and click on open, and then I get this guy right here. It pops up as this potential security breach. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, which brings me to this putty session. I'm going to type in Rob and Cisco, enable and Cisco. So now I am logged into the ASA via SSH. If we do show SSH, I now have an actual connection and all is well. That's how you do that via SSH. So that's an SSH connection. I'm also going to pull up my web browser. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go and bring you guys to this page. It's https://10.255.1.41. You get this pop up. You're going to click advanced and then proceed, and then you're brought to this page. This is how you would go to download the ASDM. So if you don't already have the ASDM or Java installed, you would need to install the ASDM and away you go. Now I've actually already got ASDM loaded, right? So I'm actually going to pull up my ASDM. This is one of a few devices that I've got. I'm going to click on add, and the IP address is going to be 10.255.1.41. Click on connect, and I'm going to discard changes because this is the ASDM that I'm currently connected to. So it's trying to load the current configuration. As soon as it wants to think about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on, and not sure why it's, oh, here. I'm always between two different monitors, and I'm on my right monitor, everything pops up on my left. So I'm going to type in Rob and Cisco. So that should allow me to connect. Now it's going to go ahead and authenticate. Now I am actually on this other ASA. I'm going to go down to home. This is ASA 3. So I've now successfully connected to this ASA via the ASDM, and that's basically how you would bootstrap it. Now there's a lot of other things you could do beyond that. The home tab obviously has a lot of your base stuff. I didn't add any interfaces to this because it was supposed to be just to be used as a, hey, this is how you would do this. Configuration wise, I can go in here and I can do a lot with it. You have the device setup, you have firewall, you have remote access, and then site-to-site VPN and device management. You have a lot of options from that. And then monitoring, you can come in here and pretty much monitor anything you want from it. So that's basically all there really is to it. I know I'm making it very, very high level, but that's kind of the point here with ASA. So that's basically what I wanted to cover here in this video. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.